दुनिया की क्या स्टोरी, किसके हाथ में इसकी डोरी, राइट में बिल्डिंग आसमानों को छूरी, लेफ्ट में बच्ची भूखी सड़कों पे सो रही, कैसी ये मजबूरी, पैसा लेना है जरूरी, नहीं तो कैसे होगी पूरी तेरी सीना जोरी, लंबी गाड़ी जितनी किसकी खोली, हाँ एक चावल की खाली बोरी, एक पैसों से भरी पूरी, कैसी ये मजबूरी, हाँ बोलना। अब देखो तो हम पास लेकिन सोचो कितनी दूरी है, अब कैसी ये मजबूरी है, अब सोचो कितनी दूरी है, अब देखो तो हम पास लेकिन सोचो कितनी दूरी है, अब कैसी ये मजबूरी है, सोचो कितनी दूरी है। ये तो सारा 200 डगाडन है, जितना काला तेरा मन उतना काला तेरा धन, वो तरफा शूट करते बोलेगा ये तरफा करते हैं जिला, वहाँ पे बेटी बेटी धन, यहाँ पे खेती खेती गंध, एक दुनिया में दो दुनिया, उजाला एक अंधेरा, एक सेठी और एक चेला, कहीं तो मोती महल में कोई जी रहा है अकेला, कहीं तो लोकल डिब्बे में है रेले पे है रेला, उनकी सेवा इनकी मेवा। अब देखो तो हम पास लेकिन सोचो कितनी दूरी है, अब कैसी ये मजबूरी है, अब सोचो कितनी दूरी है, अब देखो तो हम पास लेकिन सोचो कितनी दूरी है, अब कैसी ये मजबूरी है, अब सोचो कितनी।
So, hello everyone. Today we are going to understand something related to this song. So, what was this song about? There were so many visuals that were speaking up. Okay, if you see that, hear that, you will get to know the social reality that is present in our society today. Today's topic is Karl Marx. We're going to understand his concept of class struggle. If you have listened to the song carefully, there was one line, एक दुनिया में दो दुनिया है. What does that sentence mean? एक दुनिया में दो दुनिया है. It is directly related to what we are going to understand today. Okay, so I hope you are interested to understand ये एक दुनिया में दो दुनिया कौन सी है, right? So this was the same concept which was told by the thinker, the sociologist, or also an economist, or a philosopher, or you can say a journalist. So many things. Who was Karl Marx? Now, Karl Marx was a German philosopher, okay? And he was very much inspired by Hegel. Now, who was Hegel? Another philosopher, okay? He was his sir also. But you know, knowledge production happens only when you criticize an established knowledge, okay? So Hegel's knowledge was criticized by Karl Marx. Some of his ideas were taken, such as dialectics. But today, what we are going to focus is the concept of class struggle, and that concept is very, very important because the entire theory of Marxism, it's, you can say, the essence of Marxism is based on this theory of class struggle or the concept of class struggle. So what exactly it is? Okay, before that we need to understand a basic background about this thinker, Karl Marx. So often whenever we understand or study theoretical sociology, or for that matter any theory, there are two important things that you need to understand first. The context, right? The context is important. So whenever you go to a place, right, and there is some kind of conversation that is happening, but you won't understand that conversation unless and until you get that context. Similarly, to understand a particular theory, you need to understand that context. Now, we right now are living in a digital society. So we are communicating right now with this, you know, digitally created platform. This medium is Zoom. Okay, but at the time when Karl Marx was writing, there was no Zoom, there was no WhatsApp. Okay, so for example, he got an idea, and Friedrich Engels, you know, I think our society is being troubled with this entire capital system. What are your thoughts on this? Okay, he would have been sent a WhatsApp text to Friedrich Engels, and he will instantly reply, and Karl Marx then is kind of, you know, thinking on that and again replying. No, this was not the society at that time. You can see he was born in 1818. 83 he died. Okay, so the era you can consider when he was living in, it was a kind of industrialization he was witnessing. Industrial revolution was happened. Okay, So right now we are in the digital society, but that era was of industries. Everywhere you could have seen industries. Okay, there is a kind of assembly line production. So how many of you have seen this movie Modern Times of Charlie Chaplin? Many of you have seen, right? So the movie or the clips that you will see, it's hilarious, right? Charlie Chaplin performance, we always laugh, but but in that films or clips, often there is a social reality that is hidden. So what is that assembly line production? So you will see the contemporary industries or factories that are working. Many of the factories are automated in the sense one click, one button, and the machine is working. But at that time, it was the initial stage of industrial growth. So there were so many workers working from place to place. They were assigned A, B, C, D, and A, B, C, D people, individual, are working on small parts. Okay. So to fit a nut, they were working. Okay. Another person was working on some another thing. And this is how the assembly line production was functioning. So they were stable at one place, but the line was moving. All right. And there is another concept known as alienation that we will discuss in some another video. But today we need to focus on class concept. Okay, the class struggle. So Karl Marx was a philosopher, he was a social theorist, he was an economist. There is also a debate in sociology that whether to consider Karl Marx a sociologist or no. Because his prominent writing or area of study was economy. He was more and more interested in economy. But a prolific writer, he was writing on law, he was writing on the political scenario, he was also writing on the issues related that are troubling to the society, not only his German society, but different kinds of societies. Okay, in Indian subcontinent, what are the issues that were going on? So his writing was prolific. You won't believe, but his writing was so critical that many of the time where he was staying in a country, he was exiled from that nation. He was not allowed to live in that country. Okay, so it was a period. So you can imagine the writing was not an ordinary writing. That writing was going to create a kind of new social reality, a new kind of society. Okay, so yes, ideas do shape the world, but these ideas were problematic for whom? These ideas are problematic for the ruling class, the one who was in the power. Okay, why? We will understand in few time. He has published the Communist Manifesto. He believed in the labor theory of value, presented a great challenge to the laissez-faire economics in Das Kapital. Okay, so we often relate this laissez-faire concept with Adam Smith. Okay, and he has developed a theory of historical materialism. Okay, these are all few interrelated concepts that we will understand in few of the lectures, upcoming lectures. The next slide is this. Can you guess the symbol? Okay, what is it? Many of you have seen this. Separate these two things, you will see there's an axe, there's a hammer. Okay, axe and sickle, you can say. So what is it? What is it representing? Okay, and many of the political parties in India, in around the world, use this symbol for their political party. This symbol represents the idea of communism. Now, what is communism? Communism is, according to Karl Marx, a highest level of stage, a kind of society which he was dreaming of or which he wanted to be in place. At present, there is a capitalist economic system. He wanted to replace it with communism. Okay, so from these symbols, you can literally understand this symbol is representing whom? It is representing workers, it is representing farmers. So in industries, he was literally seeing that workers are working for 9, 10, 10, 11 hours. Okay, and then too, even if they are working so many hours, the wage that they are getting was very low, and this was creating a problem. So this is known as the outer context in which the Karl Marx was living in. So he was really witnessing all these things, that there is literally two kind of class. Now, what is class? Class is not your class. Okay, For example, SYBA B, TYBA B, FYBA A, you have classroom number 301, 303. No, that is infrastructural class. But in sociology, when we understand the concept of class, it is little bit different. Class represents the economic status in which you are living. That is class. Okay. So often when you go by train, you can understand first class ticket hai kya or general ka ticket hai kya. So what is that? That is also a kind of concept known as class. But here in sociology, class is understood in two terms. Okay. One is bourgeois and one is the proletariat. Now, you might be thinking what words Kaustubh sir are using. Bourgeois, proletariat. What is these words? I've not heard these words in English. Yes, because these words are German. Karl Marx was a German philosopher. He was writing in German. Latter day English translation happened of his writing. So bourgeois means basically the capitalist. Capitalist, who are capitalists? Capitalists are the ones who have ownership over the means of production. So in our day-to-day society, whatever things that are getting produced, how a simple thing is getting produced. So let's take example of this bag. Okay, this is a bag. How is this bag getting produced? Or for that matter, just imagine what I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing a kurta. How is this kurta getting produced? This kurta is getting produced by different things or resources. Important resources are cotton, buttons. Okay, another important thing is different colors or thread that are important for the making of this kurta. Machines, okay, sewing machine is also important. Now, all for all this setup, what is required? Capital, right? The money. How will I get all this thing? For that, I first of all need money, right? So if I have money, I will invest this money in buying all these things which are necessary to making this kurta, right? Then only I can make this kurta. Now imagine we are forgetting one important thing, which is the primary understanding of the entire class struggle. We often forget very important thing, that is the labor. Just imagine there is one sewing machine, there is cotton, there is thread, there is button, and we are just waiting when will this kurta will finally finish. No, you require labor. Labor in the sense you require hands, or you require someone who can work on this. Okay, then only we can say yes, the process is going on. Imagine I'm a capitalist. I have this machine, I have threads, etc., and now I have invested in all these things, and now the people are coming to work under me. Now I have appointed these people to work for me. Now it depends upon me how much I will pay to them. Okay, so capitalist is basically the one who has the ownership over means of production. In my example, I have told that people are going to work under me, right? These people are proletariats. When we listen to that song, the social reality is very different. So one small house, okay, a kind of hut. The social reality there is people are living in nearby region, people are fighting, constant quarrel is happening, there are water crises that are going on. Okay, so here in this image, as you can see, this was a famous scene in that movie where he is writing roti, kapda or makan, the basic necessities that we wish for. But you will see a new factor in it, plus internet. So when I started this lecture, I told you we are living in a digital society. Internet is very important. Right now, the lecture is happening because of a strong internet, right? But there are so many people, there are so many regions where internet is a problem. Okay, now it has become a basic necessity to live in this world. Why is it happening in a society where some of the people who has all these things and some of the people do not have all these things? During COVID-19, many of us were able to get online education, but there were so many people or students who were not able to get this education. Why? Because they did not have mobile phones, they did not have strong internet connectivity, and their education was lacked. The contemporary image here, there are two small children who are struggling to have daily necessity, that is food, getting proper good sanitation. They're not getting clean water to drink. And you can see in the next image, everyday visual. Okay, there's one small boy who is enjoying maybe some cartoon or some poetry, poems on his tab. Now, can you recall the line, Ek duniya mein do duniya? This is the image. Ek duniya mein do duniya. There is one world, but there are two worlds within this same one world. Okay, let us start with the concept of what is class struggle. Famous quotation of Karl Marx, the very famous quotation. The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. What is the meaning of this? According to Karl Marx, the entire society, okay, the stages of society, right from primitive communism, when there was hunting and gathering society, to the next phase where there was slavery. Literally, there were slave owners and there were slaves. Okay, the slaves were not getting anything, and the slave owners were enjoying all the riches. Then came the feudalism, the third stage, under which there were feudal lords, the nobles, the clergy, and there were the serfs. Okay, again, but comparatively, you will see the condition of these people were little bit good as compared to the slavery. Capitalism, if you will see right now, it is still existing. The time when Karl Marx was living, it was also there. But you will see a fine difference in the capitalism now and the capitalism then. What is the difference? We will understand. And this is the question which I want you to answer to me after this lecture. Okay, so now we are going to understand exactly what is the concept of class struggle. Okay, so as we discussed, the context, industrial revolution, industrialization was happening. There emerged two distinct classes, the haves and the have-nots. Okay, so in Hindi we say that इस समाज में ऐसे भी लोग हैं जिनके पास बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. ओके, बट इस समाज में ऐसे भी लोग हैं जिनके पास खाने के लिए दो वक्त की रोटी भी नहीं है. So one are the haves and one are the have-nots. So in German, the concept is bourgeois and the proletariat. Okay, as we have again discussed, the working hours were more. How was the quality of life? It was poor. So you would often see many of these workers were tired. Okay, what was the working condition in which they were working? The condition was in a way very bad. So ventilation system was not proper. They were working. Okay, they were not able to communicate with their fellow workers. They were not having their individual time. And at the same time, how much was the wage? It was very poor. Okay, so in a way, there comes a new term in sociology, which is known as exploitation of labor. That means you are getting, the worker is getting exploited. Is or she is working again and again, but according to the work they are doing, they are not getting paid in a way. This is known as exploitation of labor. So Karl Marx was literally seeing this happening in the times in which he was living. Industrial revolution, he was seeing machines were coming up, but at the same time, the workers, the laborers were getting exploited by this capitalist. Okay, so here you can see there was a kind of class, the class of proletariat. Now, if you often see the numbers is like the capitalist will be 3% and 97% will be the proletariats or the people who are working under them. All right. Now, we need to understand this concept of class in itself and class for itself. Karl Marx, I showed you this image, right? This image. So this image represents many of the political parties. So Communist Party of India, Communist Party of India, Marxism, CPIM, etc., etc. You have up till now learned about so many thinkers, so many sociologists. So you have functionalist thinker Emil Durkheim, you have learned about the positivist thinker Auguste Comte, you have also learned about, Max Weber. But any of these thinkers, they are writing, they have producing knowledge, they have written so many prolific concepts and theories, but you won't see that any of the political party has been emerged from their writings. Then what was so special or so provoking that entire society or many of the people or great intellectual leaders or the social revolutionaries started following this idea of communism or Marxism. And here we need to understand Karl Marx was not only a thinker, but he was also participating in the movement. Movement for what? Movement for bringing social change. He was himself wanting to see a kind of society where this kind of system will not exist. What kind of system? The capitalist system. He wanted in its place a kind of system where there is equality. Equality in the term, if you are a gardener, if you are an engineer, if you are a pilot, if you are a teacher, everyone will paid accordingly according to their labor. So someone is working for 8 hours, 9 hours, maybe he's a gardener, maybe he's maybe working for a bus services, he's a conductor, she is a bus driver, someone is a engineer, or someone is a pilot. All the salary will be of same level. Okay, so the idea of his was everyone is working for the national development or for the development of the human society. Then why should there be kind of difference in the wage? Okay, now who will give this? This will be given to the people by the state, not the private owners or not by the capitalist. Okay, so he came up with the idea of communism, the society where communes are there. Okay, now two important concepts we need to understand is of the consciousness and of the false consciousness. What are these new terms now? Consciousness. Right now, while listening to this lecture, are you conscious? Or are you in your subconscious? Don't lie, please tell me. Okay, so what is subconscious? Subconscious is nothing but when you are falling asleep. Okay, if you are getting a dream, that is your subconscious. Conscious means you are present, you are active, you are understanding each and everything. That is, you are conscious. The consciousness. And what is false consciousness? That means you have understood the things, but that is false. That is not the exact reality. Okay, now to understand this in simple terms, let us take one example. What is this example? So example is, there is one guy named Chintu. Chintu wants to become an astronaut. Okay, and the class, as I told you, the class from which he belongs to is, lower middle class. Imagine his father or mother is a domestic worker who is working in a household. Okay, father is an auto rickshaw driver, and this Chintu, who wishes to become an astronaut, is not able to study properly because he's not getting good facilities to study. This Chintu wants to become an astronaut, but in a way, somehow, because of the social reality, he ends up working under the Toyota car. Now he is fixing the wires, he is fixing the machines. Okay, he's repairing the cars. How much he's getting paid? He's getting paid not that much as of an astronaut. Is he happy? No, he's not happy because he wanted to become an astronaut. Then what came in between? Many factors came in between. He was not able to get proper education. He was not motivated. Okay, might be possible in which region he was living. He came across many such social influences where he could not focus on his goal. Now, the question comes, why this thing happens? Why, even if there are dreams, people land up in getting some jobs or some things which they do not really want to work in, but the social circumstances are such that they land up working in these professions. And now comes the false consciousness. If I ask Chintu, if you wanted to become an astronaut, then why are you working here? When I get a reply from him saying, क्या कर सकते हैं, हमारे नसीब में तो यही लिखा है, यही तो जीवन है, पुनर्जन्म में कुछ पाप ही किया होगा जो इस जन्म में हम भुगत रहे हैं, मेरे जीवन में एस्ट्रोनॉट बनना पॉसिबल नहीं है. Now what is this? This is false consciousness. Karl Marx says this is false consciousness, and he says that many of the workers are not understanding that their situation is because of this system. This system is creating problem for them. And he comes up with an idea of a revolution. What is revolution? You all have heard revolution. Russian revolution, French revolution, okay? These are all revolutions. Revolution and reformation, there are two different meanings. Reformation is what? Reformation. The society is as it is, but you are just making changes in that existing society. Okay? And what is revolution? You are entirely, totalitely, you are changing the entire system. That is revolution. Karl Marx wanted a revolution, but he was having a trouble of this false consciousness. How will these individual people will understand that they are getting exploited because of this system? According to him, this system is exploiting them. And this is their false consciousness, that they are not getting understanding exactly how this system is functioning, how their work, exploitation of labor, is creating profit for this capitalist. Okay, so this was the situation in which Karl Marx was functioning, or Karl Marx was trying to prove that to bring revolution, first of all, we need to change this false consciousness into true class consciousness. And that is why he says, once the people started understanding how this society or system is getting functioned, then only they will get an idea that yes, I am suffering from these problems because the system is problematic. This is idea of Karl Marx. He says once the people or the workers understand that this is our false consciousness, and once they understand the system is oppressing them, then will come what? True class consciousness. And that time he says class in itself will become class for itself. So the people individually living and suffering will come together and will revolt and bring in place capitalism will go and communism will come in its place. Now this communism will be a society where equality is there, people are working, etc., etc. Good things are happening. Now, there are so many countries who are following this path of communism. So there was an entire country or Soviet Union, current day Russia, which followed this path of communism, but communism gradually declined and it withered away. Now you will say under the Vladimir Putin, a new kind of system is functioning, mostly capitalist. Cuba is a small country where you can say communism is still practiced. China is a nation where you can say politically it is communist, but economically we can say capitalism is there. Okay, let us recapitulate once again. In a society where Karl Marx was living, he could have seen that industries are coming up, blooming up. Okay, but in this society, there are workers, there are the industrial owners or the capitalists. Okay, one are the haves and one are the have-nots. Okay, they are facing problems. What will happen according to him? Once the false consciousness will be turned into true class consciousness, they will become class in itself. From they will become class for itself. There will be a struggle, there will be a revolution, and from this revolution there will be a new kind of system. Right now the capitalism is also not the same. You will see workers, or for that matter different employees, are happy with their profession. Okay, so now let us come to the critical point of view. Karl Marx theory was heavily criticized by many multiple intellectual people. Okay, and it is always criticized. Why? Because it is always thought that Karl Marx's theory was a kind of utopian concept, in the sense the idea is good, but it is not possible in reality. Okay, so the question comes, is Karl Marx's theory still valid? And with this question, I want you to think on this in the contemporary society. Try to understand, do you still see that there are two classes, one haves or one have-nots? You can see around yourself, there are construction workers who are working to construct the towers, but in that same tower in which they are working on the 43rd floor or the 44th floor, the houses that they are making, do they have enough money to buy a house in that same tower? This is one of the example which I am giving to you. I want you all to come up with certain examples that do you see the same class as Karl Marx was seeing at that time, or the things have changed, or the employees or workers are now happy or satisfied. The wage that they were getting in that period is not the same that they are getting in the contemporary period. The wage that they are getting is well to do, they are able to consume things, or is it not so? I want you to reflect on this, and in the next lecture we will understand why neo-Marxism came into picture and why Marxism was said, okay, tata, bye bye. And now neo-Marxism is a new concept, a new theory, which many of the people are trying to understand. Okay, so in the next lecture, we'll continue with neo-Marxism, but I want examples from you all. Okay, try to reflect on the nearby situations, the social reality that you are living in. All right, so this was Karl Marx and his concept and theory of class struggle. Okay, I hope you have understood this. So thank you so much. Okay, have a nice day. Bye.